Yeah, scoot over there. Yeah, you can go right next to it.
Thank you for all coming today. We're like the last turn of this election cycle. We started earlier today, 24 hours straight of campaigning until I vote at 10 a.m. in the morning on the Upper West Side. But we've been joined by an iconic figure in all of New York State, a man who ran many races at many different levels and is a veteran. And it's with a lot of pride that I introduce the former governor of the state of New York, George Pataki, is supporting me to become the next mayor of the city of New York. Thank you, Mr. Governor.
Thank you, Curtis.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Curtis. Let me just say, I'm happy to be here this afternoon with the next mayor of New York City, Curtis Silwa. You know, back decades ago, when New York City's politicians were failing it, crime was through the roof, people doubted the future of the city, one guy, private citizen, went out on the streets to help protect New Yorkers and to give us confidence that we would get through those failed politicians. And that was Curtis Silwa. Today, when the politicians have again failed New York, and people are again seeing rising crime that makes them feel unsafe and having doubts about the future of this city, this person has put his name out there again, not as a private citizen, but to be the next mayor of New York, and that's Curtis Silwa. I remember when I ran the first time, there were doubts. Who is this guy? The Daily News had a poll Sunday before the election showing me behind by 17 points. That night, we had a rally in Queens on a float like this, and a guy by the name of Curtis Silwa stood next to me because he believed I could win and I could run the state well. Well, there are a lot of those who think Curtis can't win tomorrow, but I'm here because just like when I ran, we're on a float the day before, maybe behind in the polls, but the people know that this city needs changed leadership. It needs new leadership. It needs someone who will keep us safe and give us back our confidence in the future of this great city. So I'm honored to be here this afternoon with a friend, and tomorrow, the next mayor of New York City, Curtis Silwa.
Thank you.
Curtis.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
Thank you. A few words, and I know you all want to ask questions of the governor. Remember, 3 terms, Governor Pataki. No corruption. No problems in Albany. Think of what existed before and think of what existed after. Governor Pataki was able to oversee the state at the same time that we had 20 consecutive years of Republican leadership in City Hall. And even the naysayers have to acknowledge, as all New York residents will, that it was much better in those 20 years, and it's much better in the 12 years that Governor Pataki oversaw what happened in the state of New York than it has been in the last 8 years. And what I say to the voters is that if you want change, you vote for Curtis Silwa. If you want to have de Blasio 2.0, Governor, the other night in the last debate, I couldn't understand. But Eric Adams, when asked to give a mark to Bill de Blasio, gave him a B+. There is nobody out there, probably including de Blasio's family, that thinks he earned a B+. So if you want another 4 years of Bill de Blasio, then vote for my opponent. If you want a different direction, remember, I gave the first speech for you at the Yale Club. There were 8 people there in support of State Senator George Pataki to become the next governor. He was in a heated primary, 6 different people running to run against Mario Cuomo, the iconic figure in the Democratic Party. At that time, they were getting ready to put the 5th face up on Mount Rushmore if Cuomo decided to run for the presidency. It was like a guarantee. Whatever Cuomo wanted, he was going to get. He just had to get through a guy who formerly was mayor of Peekskill, state senator, that few, if anybody, knew, especially here in the city. He overcame those odds. 18 points behind, 3 days before, and everybody said, you have no hope to become the next governor. They were asking you, what are you going to do? You're going to go back upstate? You're going to get into private law practice? They already had written the script. Guess what? George Pataki became our governor. Thank God he did. We had 12 great years. And I know with the magic of George Pataki, because he's a straight shooter, he was honest, he always answered the questions, he attracted votes in suburban, rural, and most importantly, urban areas where Republicans before that had not done well. I followed your route, and I know it's going to take us to victory once the votes are counted, tabulated, and announced tomorrow night. So I'm indeed honored and pleased that I can begin the process all over, although I will tell you, I had 12 people in the room when I made the decision to run, whereas George had 8. I can do it. George Pataki did it. And who amongst any of you would say we weren't better off to have George Pataki as our governor for 12 years? Or to have 20 years of Republicans as mayor of the city of New York to recover from the crime crisis, to recover from being the murder capital of the world, the crime capital of the world, to become the safest big city in the world. That's what happened with Republican leadership. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Thank you. Thank you. You have any questions?
Governor.
Sure.
Curtis, and pretty much the only poll that we've seen so far, is trailing by double what you were in that Daily News poll that you cited. What makes you confident that he indeed can do it? Especially, he doesn't have the name recognition issue here. Everyone knows Curtis.
Right. I think it's the same idea that people want change. They wanted change when I was running against Cuomo back when I ran the first time, and now I think they know that New York City has been headed in the wrong direction with the wrong leadership, so they want change. It's hard to convince millions of people to vote on the Republican line, but I was able to do it, and I believe Curtis will be able to do it, because when you see the city having rising crime, subways that people are afraid to take, mentally ill homeless out on the street, schools that are failing the most vulnerable children in this city, people know we need change, and Curtis Silwa is that change.
Governor Pataki, the circumstances of your victory in 1994 are very different from what's going on in the city now. You won you ran against an incumbent, and he's running for an open seat, and you won with wide margins outside of New York City. You really believe that he could win inside the city?
There's no question in my mind that come tomorrow, Curtis Silwa will do very well. People understand the need for change. They understand de Blasio has failed miserably in this city. I predicted a lot of football games. I almost always get it wrong, but I am predicting that tomorrow, Curtis Silwa will be the next mayor of New York City.
Curtis, one of your closing arguments revolves around the back and forth on vaccine mandates. I saw you took questions on this earlier, so I'll try not to ask a repeat. But, you know, we're seeing new numbers out today that show that the numbers are going up. 86% of the city's vaccinated, 91% of the city employees. Is this really the issue that can carry you when so many people are just complying?
There's no doubt we want to see people vaccinated. But the contrast is, look at all the people that have been fired before. Healthcare workers, teachers. They haven't been paid. They've got to take care of themselves and their families. No compassion, no caring from Bill de Blasio and his partner and his teammate, Eric Adams, who's taken the same position. Now they've extended it to firefighters, police officers, sanitation workers. Look at Malone out there in Suffolk County. Swoops in and says, I'll take 700. I want to refund the police. He's willing to hire 700 of these police officers now where there's no vaccine mandate, Suffolk County. And there are other areas in our immediate tri-state area that will similarly want to come in and pick off the best of the NYPD. And they're going to be able to do it. And they'll hire them in Florida, in Georgia, in North Carolina, in South Carolina, and Virginia, south of the Mason-Dixon line. So ultimately, de Blasio and Eric Adams may think, well, this will force everyone to get a vaccine. But there will always be thousands who either can't get the vaccine because they had the antibodies, meaning they had the COVID virus, they feel they don't need the vaccine, or they don't want the vaccine. What was wrong with just testing them once a week? That was working out fine. That was not problematic. They did this at a time where the infection level is an all-time low. An all-time low. Why now? And again, I stress to everybody the hypocrisy of this. You're going to vote tomorrow. You don't have to show a vaccine passport in a closed assembly facility in a school near you. You don't have to show ID for voting. Yet you go across the street and you have a little notch or a little lunch, you got to show a vaccine passport. You got to show your personal ID. You go to Jersey, you show nothing. Westchester, Connecticut, Nassau, Suffolk County. How does this make any sense? This makes no sense, and it's going to ruin lives. And think, with all the cops who have been fired and firefighters, God forbid there's a fire. God forbid there's a crime surge, which if you know gangs like I know gangs, they're going to take advantage of the fact there will be even less police officers available to stop them. Any other questions?
Governor Pataki, just because you are one of the Republicans who spoke up and been critical of President Trump, Curtis Silwa earlier today noted that he was an ever-Trumper. May I just have you weigh in on the culture war that's just dividing the country as it is now?
I think it's just a terrible thing to see the country as divided as it is right now. You know, after September 11th, one of the few positives of that was that we were united as Americans. We were all together, Republican, Democrat, black, white, young, old, it didn't matter. And now we're as divided as ever in my lifetime. And what we have to do is marginalize the extremists and understand that we have a common future and we have much more that unites us as New Yorkers, as Americans, than divides us. Sadly, the political leadership hasn't been looking to do that. They must. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. We're going to start rolling.
Let's disassemble this first, or it'll come
Yes,
out.
yes, absolutely.
Okay, Curtis, go get him.
Pleasure. Thank
Happy
you.
to do it.
Thank you, sir.
Take care of him. Keep him away from buses.
Thank you.
Kids.
Thank you, sir.